UFC 307 predictions. This is, they should have had this card in the Sphere. This should have been the Sphere card. The Sphere card was meh, and there was always a concern it will be meh, and it was. Thankfully, they had the great videos and all that kind of stuff, and it was fun. This card's very good. A lot of interesting fights. First, let's get into this one. This is a real low-key old school versus new school, not in fighting style, very similar kind of fight styles, but just a clash of eras. We got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. How do you see this one? This is a big step up for Joaquin. He's finally, not to say that he can't win this fight. He definitely can win this fight. It's just finally like a really big name that he's kind of wanted. Stephen Thompson's taking a bit of a risk. This is kind of a high risk, low reward, fight for him. If he beats Joaquin Buckley, yeah. So, that's not going to get him a title shot. Buckley is back in the top 10, top 15, but it's not going to catapult him into a fight against Bilal Muhammad or something like that. So it's fascinating matchup. How do you think this one plays out?
Oh man, I'm really divided on this one because Wonder Boy has these skills necessary to straight up embarrass Buckley. Like he's got every tool needed to have an easy day at the office against Buckley. The problem is those tools might be a little rusty now. those tools have been sitting on the shelf for a little bit and collected some dust. So I don't know if Wonder Boy Thompson, no longer, I shouldn't even say Wonder Boy, the Wonder Man. I don't think, I don't know if the Wonder Man has it in him still, because remember last time when he fought Kevin Holland, and I'm trying to think, was that us? If on this show or if it was my old podcast, I can't remember. But I definitely said leading up to that fight, Wonder Boy might have one of those perfect performances in him, and Kevin Holland is the perfect guy to put on that perfect performance. Buckley is that same sort of person that has everything laid out for Thompson to put together one of his marquee showcases, but I just don't think he has it physically in him anymore to do it. Give me Joaquin Buckley. I don't know if he gets the finish. Screw it, he gets the finish. I think he's gonna knock out Wonder Boy here. A late stoppage, but I think it's gonna be pretty definitive, and then the end comes. I like Buckley to win this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. It just feels like UFC is making this fight because they know what it can mean for Buckley, even though, it's like my brain says, oh, Stephen Thompson, this guy fought for the title multiple times, very good fighter, has been a good fighter, ranked fighter for like almost the last decade, but you can't deny the stat. The guy's 41. He's going to be 42 years old in a few months early in next year. Hasn't fought in a year. He's been losing. He's lost 3 out of his last 4. Some of them definitively. Now, granted, very good fight. He lost to Shavkat, great fighter. Bilal Muhammad, great fighter. But, that's just the nature of the fight game. Like, once Father Time gets a grip on you, it's hard to let go. And especially he's a style. He has a style where he relies heavily on reflexes. And that's just never good when you get older. He was a power puncher, and that was his game. Then, you can always turn back the clock. But, I don't like this matchup. I think Buckley gets the finish as well. Moving on from there, this is another fascinating fight. Kayla Harrison, her second fight in the UFC versus Ketlen Vieira. Where do you see this one going? I mean, Ketlen's a good, solid fighter. I think this is a winnable fight. Is there any danger in this for Kayla Harrison?
I mean, there's always going to be some level of danger when you're talking about, professional fighters, but I just don't see where Vieira wins this. Like, I don't think she's a particularly gifted striker. So I don't see her just running over Harrison in that regard. And even if she was, you close that distance too much, you're going to go for a ride and you're going to be on your back. And then when this fight is on the ground, Vieira just doesn't show enough submission prowess or even positional dominance to say that you're going to handle an Olympic gold medalist in judo on the ground. I just don't see that happening. And quite frankly, the UFC would be really, really silly to put Kayla Harrison in against Ketlen Vieira if they didn't think Harrison was going to win, because Harrison is a shoo-in for a title shot. A shoo-in of a potential star for the promotion. and Kellen Vera just simply is not. So that would just be a tremendous waste of, one of the biggest sought after free agents in the sport's history.
This one's a weird one for me. I think Harrison should win it, but Kellen Vieira is that kind of weird fighter who can just somehow turn things into an ugly, sloppy fight and make things difficult for people that should beat her. Like she beat Holly Holm, and now granted Holly Holm was his past her prime, but still got a whatever Holly Holm, Mish Tate, Raquel Pennington, who's a champion now at the division, got just a split decision out of her. Penny Kienta, who's a good striker. She's that weird kind of fighter, like doesn't jump off the page, but I'm forgetting his name, but there's just those fighters that they just have a style like a Keith Jardine, like those kinds of guys that they're not great, but they sometimes go in there with people that are better, and they just make it difficult for them somehow just by pure will and decent, solid all-around skills. I think Caitlin should win, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think Caitlin's a live underdog. I think she'll make it difficult, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to decision or something like that, and she doesn't finish her, and it's not easy. But yeah, it's a weird one, but I'm going to go with Harrison too. Another one, bit of a clash of errors. We got Jose Aldo, second fight after retirement, versus Mario Batista, a very good under the radar young fighter at bantamweight, who in his let's go back to his recent hit list. He's got some surprising wins. Let me see here.
Yeah, Ricky Simone and Brian Kelleher probably
Ricky
his
Simone,
most known wins.
He's won several fights in a row. He rounded into like becoming, it seemed like he was a good prospect. Weren't sure where he's going to go, and he's kind of found himself, and he's really started to hit it like a momentum, and momentum, confidence, always key. The brain says Jose Aldo. He's Jose Aldo. Of course he's going to be, but again, age. This is the reason he retired a couple of years ago. Losing to good fighters, but he's not the guy he used to be. And just because of age, he's still a relevant fighter, still not going to be an easy out for anyone, but just age gets the best of them, man. You can't always compete at a high level. I really feel like this could be just one of those, he came out of retirement, look what he did in his last fight, but that reality was set. He's not, Mario Batista is not going to finish him or anything, but I can see Mario Batista squeaking out a decision. He's just, like those classic things where the older fighter can't pull the trigger enough, and that the opportunity's there, but they don't make the most of it, and it won't be a dominant win. But I just feel like Mario Batista, it's just the way things are, the age, they're booking this fight for a reason. I think Batista squeaks out a win here. What do you think?
You know what? I'm fully on board with the Aldo resurgence hype train. Okay. I do think obviously age is a factor here, but we haven't really seen Aldo age yet. Like he's still, and even as he's had injuries and limitations throughout his career, he's always been able to adapt his style to fit them accordingly. Remember, he was the nastiest leg kicker the world had ever seen until he got into a motorcycle accident and injured his foot or something like that. And when he messed up his foot, throwing some kicks on Korean Zombie. And after that, he stopped relying on the leg kicks as much, but damn, that jab became a laser sharp weapon, and then his takedown defense has evolved. He's responded to every limitation with a new wrinkle to his skill set at ages where most people just are who they are. I don't think Mario Batista is going to expose anything here, because this is a huge leap up in competition. There is a big difference from aging, quote unquote, diminished Jose Aldo and Ricky Simone. There's a huge difference, huge difference. And Damon Blackshear, like good fighters, but Aldo is one of the best who's ever done it, and quite honestly has a great case to be considered the GOAT. He's still got a lot of that in him. Even his time off from the UFC was not spent sitting on the couch eating bonbons. He was out there boxing, and he was looking sharper than an MMA fighter should in those scenarios. Give me Aldo to win. I don't know if he gets the finish, because one thing about Aldo, this version of Aldo, he's not chasing the finish as much as he's just trying to do what he does. I can see him just like he did in his last fight, sort of picking up steam early. And then once he's built up a very clear lead, just sort of just doing what he has to do and seeing that final bell. Give me Aldo by decision here.
Yeah, Aldo's always been that guy that's like, man, he's only 32 still. He's only 33, but 38 and 135 pounds. That one's just worries me. But moving on from there to the women's 135-pound title, Raquel Pennington, I believe it's her first title defense versus Juliana Pena, a matchup that maybe we both could agree we wouldn't mind a double knockout. I'm not sure, but I don't know what to make of Juliana Pena. She just reminds me of like female Diego Sanchez, like nothing fancy. It's just will and guts and horsepower, and she's gonna take her takedown. It's not highly technical, and she's gonna take too many shots. She's gonna be bloody, you're gonna black. Like I just feel like, and not to say that Raquel Pennington has really become a spectacular fighter. She kind of still is who she's always been. I just think the division has just lost a lot of the elite talents, and she just good matchup, got the title fight, and won it, but not a spectacular fight. But I still think in the end she's probably still good enough in her takedown defense, experienced enough, good stand-up, that she'll do enough to keep Juliana at bay and work out a decision. Juliana will get her takedowns here and there, but I think Raquel will work her way out of it. She's just good, sound fighter just because she's got so much experience. I see Raquel Pennington get a unanimous decision. What do you think about this one?
I agree with you on this one. I mean, one, I'll say, like, I'm not hoping for a double knockout here because I actually like Raquel Pennington. So I just want a singular knockout. Just one person getting laid out flat and I'll be a very happy man. Because I think Juliana Pena is like the goofiest person the sport has ever seen. Like, what a cornball.
That's saying something. There's been some goofy person.
Lord, like, what a ridiculous personality. Just get her all the way up out of here. And like, I do understand her case for the title shot. Like, I get it. She was the last person to hold the belt until Nunes retired. Cool. And she was supposed to get that fight against Nunes, end up being her retirement fight. Cool. She's here. I don't think, though, that this is the person that Pena style of just berserker rage is going to work very well on. Yeah. Raquel Pennington is no stranger to berserker rage. She's got enough berserker rage in her to be one of the more consistently tough women that it fights, actively. I don't think Pena is going to go in there and just land some punches and just steamroller. And the way she does that thing where she's just throwing the reverse punches like from her hip and just running forward. Yep. Like, I don't think this is going to work very well on Pennington. Yeah. Even if you land on her a couple of times, you get in close enough, she's gonna clinch up on you. She's gonna push you against the fence. She's gonna grind you out. And she has just enough technical prowess to style on her. Like, she's got just enough of it to style on her and just enough of the knucklehead in her to kind of hang in that realm. So this is not a good matchup for Pena. Never mind the fact that she's been off for quite some time. And we've seen Pennington endure some very interesting, situations and fight back to get wins. We've seen Pena boo from the stands. That's all we've seen from her. So I think Pena, I think Pena's going down here, and hopefully Raquel Pennington can keep us from another title reign of perhaps the most cringe person in mixed martial arts history.
And Pennington has been in war. She can handle war. I think that was the weird thing with Nunes. I don't think Nunes she got uncomfortable in a war and started making surprisingly bad decisions. Pennington is not going to be, like you said, she's not going to be the berserker attack. It's not going to frazzle her or whatever. So
that's her default is like, okay, I'm going to get dinged upside the head a lot and I'll figure my way out. Like, that's her default setting.
Yeah. Moving on from there, main event, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. The fight that no one thought was going to happen, and Khalil Roundtree coming off of shouldn't be happening. I think really the real question is not who's going to win. Why should anyone believe Khalil has a chance? What do you think, Anthony? Is he at all a live dog? Is Father Time going to catch up with Alex? Like, why should anyone take this fight seriously as a real threat to Pereira?
Khalil Roundtree is a very legitimate threat to anyone that he fights. Roundtree is like a master of violence himself. Like, this is the guy who collapsed the knee with a sidekick, in recent memory. When he's on point, like, he is a nasty, nasty dude. With no aversion to just hurting another person and maiming them to get the W. That's just what he likes to do. The problem is we're not sure what version of him we get sometimes. Like, when he's not in this Neo from the Matrix mode, where he's just otherworldly with everything he's doing, it's very underwhelming. If he has an underwhelming moment against Alex Pereira, he is going to get decapitated in there, because Pereira is a true grandmaster of everything violent. So, that being said, this fight really should not be happening. You should not come off of a reprimand for PEDs and then get, even if it was an accidental ingestion, you should not come fresh off of that to cut the suspension short. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they just cut a suspension short?
Yeah,
and just say just go in there and fight.
Yeah, he's gonna be off suspension, right? A week or two before the fight.
Like, come on, fam, what are we doing? Like, this does not make any sense in any legitimate context. But the fight itself, yes, he is a very real threat. I just think that Alex Pereira has kind of seen elements of this before. I don't think this would be anything new for him. So Roundtree, I like to think of him in comparison to Pereira's, some of his more recent opponents, is like the combination of a Adesanya and a Prohaska. He's got that wildness and that sort of just hit you hard and just go nuts with it that Prohaska has, but he has some of the dialed back technique that Adesanya shows. He kind of splits that difference perfectly. I don't think that combination is going to be too much for Pereira to handle, because he's shown how he handles the extreme technician, and he's shown how he handles the extreme berserker rage, and he knocks both of them out. So I really think that Khalil is going to fall victim like some of the others have.
It's crazy. And it's even more mind-blowing that this fight is happening for all the reasons you mentioned, and then the fact that there's a Magomed Ankalaev out there. Like, that's the guy who should be getting the fight. Like, that's the guy who could really be a problem for the champion. We're here to give fights that can be problematic for a champion and find out who the best in the world is. And then it just you look at his Khalil Roundtree's resume. Now, he's won 5 in a row. Great, that's great. But it's like Modestas Bukauskas, Carl Roberson, Justin Jacoby. That's the guy who I was trying to think of when I was talking about, Ketlin Vieira just, makes an ugly fight, makes a good fight. Like Justin Jacoby does that. But Chris Daukaus, Anthony Smith, who hasn't been a guy that is really a big threat in multiple years, to go from that to then fight one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world, who is arguably the best fighter of the last 5 years, a 2-division champion, and not even just like an Adesanya, Alex Volkanovski, who are these really highly technical, very gifted. This guy's technical, but will take your damn head off. Like, he's no joke. He's, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, the only way this happened is just the magic of MMA. And Alex just gets old, and he just has an old moment. He finally comes. He's kind of over. He's kind of due for. He's at that point in his career where the decline can just happen. That's the only reason. Father Time has to come in and be a tag team partner in a handicap match. I just don't see how Khalil gets this. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's just kind of set up for a highlight reel knockout for Alex Pereira. It just adds to his legacy. But yeah,